Today's topic of webinar is personal financial planning, and hope this will be of interest to all of you. I am Rajkumar Gokhru. Those who does not know me, I would like to just introduce myself. I am an associate career mentor at DHEA, guiding students to choose the right career path and setting the goals for their career. I have 20 years of work experience working in various industries, helped 14 individuals so far in financial planning, and I have done a certification course in personal and family financial planning from University of Florida. So with that one, I would just like to start a poll to gather some information. I can mold my presentation accordingly. So if you can answer the poll, I just open up a poll. So I'm just closing in a minute the poll. If you would like to respond, you just go to poll and respond it. Thank you very much. So 55% are saying they are professional, and there are students as well as others. I would like to start one more poll before I proceed so that I can get understanding of the audience. Yeah, so I see the maximum age group is 35 and above, and there are also people in the group which are in their early stage of career, as well as couple of students. So I will start my presentation trying to see all level of people get benefit out of it. So how will personal financial planning help you? That's the question comes in mind. So many time means are everybody save and invest according to his or judgment and try to fulfill his or need, but at the same time it is become evident that if one does not follow the goal based approach and does not structured approach for financial planning, money become very limited at the time when we need it. So in this webinar we would like to go through some of the aspects of personal financial planning that will help you to plan your short term, medium term, and long term financial objectives, as well as that will give an insight that if you really need a help, a financial advisor can help you prepare a financial plan and execute on it. We will also talk at the end of it what is a certified financial planner do, and if as a those who are in the early career stage, or those are in the mid career stage also, if they want to be a certified financial planner, what are the ways to do it. Meanwhile, if you get any question, you can just type in the chat box, and I will take those questions at the end of this webinar. So first step of personal finance is the goal setting. And why goal setting is important? Suppose somebody want to climb the Himalaya, and he just started and try here and there. It will be very tough, or it will be next to impossible to reach on the top of Himalaya. That require a proper planning, and a plan with all the supports and the risk planning for risk mitigation will help in achieving or climbing the Himalaya in a short time with full enthusiasm and give a sense of achieving the goal. So same way in our life, we have to have financial goals, and financial goals basically means that those life financial goals such as retirement planning, child education, child marriage, owning a house or car, these all are financial goal. So, how to set the financial goal? One is to set the smart financial goal. Smart means it should be specific. We have to define it. It should be measurable. How much money we want to accumulate for a particular goal. How we are going to achieve it. It should be achievable. It should be realistic with the current environment as well as our economic condition, and it should be time bound. So there are certain goals are like we have needs and wants in our life, and we have to differentiate those needs and wants. Why it's required? Because needs are must to have in life, and those are we want to fulfill. Wants are endless. Wants changes based on our situation, based on our preferences. Just to differentiate it, like child's education, this is a need. We have to fulfill that need through our planning. Means while at the same time wants maybe a tour around the world, so that also is important. I'm not saying that is not important, but once we differentiate those, we will see how to separately plan for needs and wants, and what kind of portfolio we can make for needs and wants separately. And once we have the financial goals defined, we have to make financial plan for each goal. So if you see on the right side picture, for house there is a separate bucket, for car there is a separate, like that for each goal. Then we will have more clarity. Once we define the goal, we have more clarity, and with that clarity we will able to make a financial plan for each goal. So before we start executing the goals, we have to understand that what all the essential elements goes behind the plan. And so what are the toolkits? Personal financial, I say those are the toolkit, essential elements and budgeting. These are the two backbone for a financial goal. And so essential elements are, I just borrow the terminology working capital, which generally used in industry. So in the bracket, I have put what I saw as an standard practice or as a thumb rule. It may vary from person to person, but it is nice to have minimum of this what is mentioned in the parenthesis to have a healthy financial life. So I was just talking about the working capital, 3 months expenses in the bank, health insurance. Nowadays, if people might have realized that having a personal health insurance is very much evident. You may get insurance from the company or as a group insurance, but that may not be adequate, and that may not come handy after the retirement as well. So one must need a personal health insurance. The term insurance is very much necessary for the family protection and meeting the family financial need even after one is no more. So that is again a pure term insurance is advised, as this term insurance is only give you protection. It's not mixing investment and insurance. And the emergency fund, 6 months of expenses plus investment. So if one would really like to move his life in the difficult situations also as it is, and don't want to disturb his or her investment apart from expenses, then one must have emergency fund which includes 6 months of expenses plus investment. Now if you think just give it 1 minute thought on the point that if you have all these four in place, okay, and during this pandemic situation you would have peace of mind, whether you are in business or you are in household working or you are working in corporate. If you have all these four in place, just think, in any economic downturn or any unforeseen thing happen in life, this will act as a protection. Having all these four not only give you safety and security or protection financially, but it gives you a confidence and courage and help you in moving ahead in life. Facing any financial situation, you will be ready for that. So that's where it is called, it's very very essential, must to have elements in a personal financial toolkit. Okay. The second comes is the budgeting. many of us now get the expenses tracking because now it's become digital. However, we have a tendency, we get the income and we do the expenses, and then we have some savings. Based on saving, we decide our investment. The as a financial planner, the advice is to change the sequence. You get the know-how of your income and get the income and do the investment and make this investment automated. And then you see what are the savings you have, and then out of that you do your expenses. So then it will take you ahead of others and help you in achieving your financial goal much faster and better way than others. So changing this sequencing is very much important, and giving the investment ahead of priority, ahead of saving and expenses. And we will see what all different ways to do an investment plan. Understanding this concept will help in that in budgeting it's not only the expenses, household expenses. We generally think, okay, we have this much income and our household expenses are this much, and that's called the budget. So budgeting is like a balance sheet in the corporate world, which will give you all the asset and liabilities side, and what are your income, whether it's passive or active, and how much expenses you have. Expenses sometimes come as a ad hoc expenses as apart from regular income. So if you connect the expenses, ad hoc expenses, with the first one, the working capital, 3 months expenses you have set aside in the saving bank, then it will help you to meet any sudden expenses comes, for which you no need to go back to your either breaking your FDs or emergency fund or touching any of the investment. That's why the first one, 3 months expenses working capital require is become very very essential. Otherwise any things comes, if you have only emergency fund, you will go and take out from it again. You will have to build the emergency funds to be used for the extreme emergency conditions in life, which are obviously unforeseen, as well as it has emergency in nature, urgent and important. So just to move on, the personal financial investment avenues. So what all the investment avenues available? So on the broader level, it is divided into four categories: debt, equity, real estate, and gold. Again, there are a couple of more, but these are the major one. Again, in parentheses, in brackets, I have just mentioned an ideal portfolio distribution. And consider the situation now. The gold is going up and up and up, and those who are having already 10 to 15% as per the ideal asset allocation in the gold, they will be feeling very happy. Those who don't have, they try to rush and now jump into having the gold at higher cost. So always in terms of investment, it is not always that all the asset class will run at the same time. So it is prudent to have distribution across the asset class. This will also reduce the risk and increase the return. So it will increase the return, it will balance out the portfolio. And if you look for various instruments, exactly it comes to the point that there are multiple instruments. If you see on the right hand side, what are the best investment plan for me? Why this question arises? Because in the market there are a lot of avenues for investment. Even in debt there are multiple avenues, in equity there are multiple avenues, and in real estate there are commercial properties, there are plots, there are house. In the gold there are various schemes, sovereign gold bond scheme, the ETF, physical gold. Lot of options are available, and if you just keep thinking over it, one will not get enough time to study and go through all and what recent developments are happening in those. So that is the task of a financial planner, to remain updated with all the type of investment and understand the profile of client, and then making a best investment plan and advice to his her client. So that is where the financial planner, as we talked about, comes into picture. If one has enough time and to study all type of investment to find out what suits best and why, then one can spend time. But in our professional life or in our life, we have other job to do, and that's where we can leave this job on a financial planner. So what does a financial planner do? We will understand that in a bit, but before moving on, I just want to ask you to think about, out of the four: debt, equity, real estate, and gold, if you have understood, where your portfolio is skewed around, and whether you feel happy about it, the skewness, or you want to rebalance. And this will not happen by thought or just in few months or weeks. It requires consistent effort to make a balanced portfolio and to reap the benefit of all the investment avenues. As I mentioned, those who were investing from last 5 years in the gold, they are now reaping the benefit of it when the gold prices moves higher, and then they keep it balancing. So now their 10 to 15% has grown up to 25%. So the advice to them is to book profit and bring the balance back to 10 to 15%, and that's how, which is called a rebalancing of portfolio. So whenever whichever asset class goes high, very high, and gives a lot of return, that time taking profit out and rebalancing your portfolio to set parameters is advisable. And that's how financial planner will help in understanding when to do it. It's very difficult task, but at the same time it will be the task of the financial planner to help his or her client, so that proper hand holding will happen. So it's not a one time task that once the plan is done and everything is set, the financial planner work is out. It's not like that. It's hand holding required at every stage. Again, so to give a glimpse on the terminology side, I have here not tried to put the definition of it, but I try to put more practical explanation, or I can say examples, so that one will easily able to understand those. So if you see the number 1 and number 13, the goals or needs and wants are separated. However, the wants, some of the goal which are in wants can become need for some of them. For example, if a child want to goes abroad for his studies, higher education, then the travel cost and all those education cost, those all, and the which may require travel through by parents as well. So that will again comes into need, instead of or somebody has the job as a salesman or as a marketing manager. So the travel comes as a need, no more remains as a want. Okay, so coming to the asset allocation and diversification, so these two terminology quite often mixed together. So I will try to differentiate it by saying asset allocation is investing in different asset classes like real estate, equity, debt, gold, FD, RD. These are different asset classes. Asset allocation has to be done, as we learned that those who had investment in continuous investment in all the asset classes according to the proper asset allocation, then it gives the benefit when one or two or asset classes goes higher. So within the asset classes, then there can be multiple real estate, there can be multiple gold instruments used, there is a possibility to have different mutual fund types. So that is called diversification. And while the asset allocation helps you in reaping the benefits of different asset classes, diversification help you in your minimization of risk. So you will be able to do the calculated risk, taking calculated risk by asset allocation and diversification. That is the purpose of it. And while we have learned the essential elements, then we say that through the essential elements, we are able to protect our investment, protect our finances, and those basically risk retirement. The terminology used for that is risk retirement. And we have learned that working capital, emergency fund, term insurance, health insurance, these all help us in risk retirement, so that our finances don't get disturbed and our investment keep going on. So same way, earning and saving, the active and passive. So we all have active earning and passive earning. We try to have passive earning either through rent or through interest income. What we have to try? We have to try for both active income to increase, but at the same time passive income. Those who have business, they know well that they can increase their active income by expanding their business. But those who are in salaried class, for them the instrument advice is more to get the financial instruments from where they can earn the passive income. Similarly, there are a couple of more terminology, and I would like to touch couple of more important points here, like power of compounding. Before that, let me give a light on the portfolio. So core portfolio and satellite portfolio. Why we have to have two portfolio? As we have segregated our goals into needs and wants. So for the needs, we will define the core portfolio, and we want to achieve that because those needs are must. So core portfolio we don't want to disturb. At the same time, in life we have certain wants, and time to time we want to have certain things which give us joy and fulfillment as well. So we develop a satellite portfolio for it, and satellite portfolio is the portfolio which will help us in terms of achieving our wants and not disturbing our needs. So satellite portfolio, sometime we take more risk in terms of getting more return. So if we don't get that much return from satellite portfolio, we still try to achieve our goals of wants, but we can either delay it for some time. For example, going on a foreign trip, we can either delay it little bit, or if we get less through our satellite portfolio, then we try to identify the place where we can still have a good foreign trip, but at a price or affordable price where we have the budget we set in the through the satellite portfolio. So there are two more important terminology: compounding and multiplier. So power of compounding. Power of compounding comes in those instruments where your capital is has the protection. Okay, capital protection is the basic requirement where you will get power of compounding, and then you get interest over interest in the longer run. So more the time you give, more you get power of compounding. That is also called as eighth wonder of world. Those who are near the retirement or after retirement, they know how well it worked for them if they have invested in the instruments like PAF, PPF, and then they got a lump sum at the time of retirement after 15 years, like in case of PPF. While the power of multiplier, the different asset classes like mutual fund, real estate, those have power of multiplier. Here capital can be at risk, and it's not a year on year increment in the return of these instruments. Even the gold comes into it, but at a time when this asset class moves up and up, they can multiply your money. So they have the nature of power of multiplier. So this differentiation help us to all if you see, and comes to 15 number, the investment philosophy. Okay, once you understand this terminology and differentiate, and then you can match it with your beliefs and psychology, because at the end of the day, the whole aim of financial planning is to have such a plan which gives you financial freedom, but at the same time it also help you give a sound sleep. Any investment you do which will take away your sleep or disturb your sleep is not at all advisable. That's where customization is required in terms of financial planning. So no one size fits all. It cannot be generic. We just learn from somewhere, or our friends, our colleagues, or relatives. Okay, if we put in this instrument, we will earn this much, and it's very quick and fast, and we just run around it, and we will also want to get that one. That is not may not fit well, or may not fit well with your belief and psychology. And then after getting it, and then if it doesn't suit, so that will become difficult to adjust in the life, and in the mind it will click again and again. So personal financial planner, one of the big tasks is also to understand the psychology of the client and advise accordingly. So it's not always the high return everybody wants to get, or high return will satisfy or give peace of mind to everybody, because lot of risk are associated. So a task of personal financial manager is to make client understand his or her psychology and the risk taking capacity, and accordingly plan his finances to achieve his financial goals in life. Last but not the least is tax treatment. Generally, a middle class, or I will say a salaried class, start his or her investment with objective of tax saving, because we don't have education in our education system about the finances. We enter into the job market, and we saw that suddenly that as soon as we start earning, we have to pay taxes. And now how to avoid? Everybody jump into the wagon that I want to avoid taxes, I don't want to pay taxes. And that's how the generally we start it. But the advice is not to do or go behind tax saving. Tax saving may come as an advantage or bonanza, and not a primary reason for goal based investment. So one has to be prudent, and one has to do goal based investment, and to really achieve the goals and make all the finances financial planning accordingly. That tax saving may come as an added advantage at the end of the day, but it is not the primary reason to do certain investment or to purchase a policy or any financial instruments. Having talked so far about the financial planning and financial planner we talked about, I just want to give a glimpse on if somebody wants to have career in personal finance. So there are certified financial planner, and need for those is increasing day by day. And this certified financial planner, how to become a certified financial planner? There are various colleges and courses available, and the minimum qualification required is 12th standard. So those who are in their student age, and if they like, there are some details I am trying to give, so that they can dig out more and decide whether one can want to be in this career or not. The other, those who are in their jobs or in the business, or they also can be a certified financial planner. If not a full time, a part time, as we talked about. There are ways to increase active income, or there are ways which one like can do in life to achieve his her goal. So there is a certification course from Financial Planning Standard Board of India, and likewise those similar courses in the world as well. And where do the question comes is, where do the certified financial planner works? If one would really like to make a career as a full time, then one should be curious to know where do they work, what is their work nature, how they what work they do. So financial planner commonly work in investment firms or banks, and others can be self-employed or employed in a small group, can work independently in the practice groups. But what exactly they have to do, as I explained, they plan finances for their clients. So in investment firms they handle big portfolio and HNI, high net worth client. In the independent practice group, they handle individual portfolios and plan finances and do hand holding for each and every steps, changes in the government policies, in the economic situations. Every place they come as and advise their clients what to do, how to tackle this situation. Their work obviously involves connecting with the people. Travel, they may go for attending conferences, teaching finance courses, visiting clients, and so on and so forth. So, practically, this will help not only increasing networking, but also when they teach financial courses, then it will help others to understand finances and help to improve their lives. With this one, I am almost done with my presentation. Before going to taking the questions, I just want to show you that we all do some mistakes during our financial planning or during executing it. So that to avoid those, we generally put some do's and don'ts. And as we talked about in the do's, the make a budget is a must. Start early investment. As you start early, you reap benefit of compounding, power of compounding, as we understood that. Invest before you spend and automate it. So we have talked about sequencing the investment much before the expenses, and as far as possible automate it so that it will directly get deducted from your bank account and get invested with minimum intervention. And invest as per your psychology to get a good sound sleep. This is very much important, and that is what gives the happiness in life. And make a will. So we have not talked much about the will in this webinar, but will is a plan such that what will happen after, or how I will going to distribute my assets in my next generation. And in the, if I come to don'ts, never mix insurance and investment. When we mix insurance and investment, we neither get full insurance, and we never know how much it get invested, and return will be very low, and it will be very difficult to identify what is the actual benefit out of it. And never revolve your credit card use. Since it's a plastic money use is increasing day by day, and more people start using credit card. So never revolve your credit card use. This is the tip to avoid debt trap. So don't spend before you earn. If you take everything on loan, so if you see the fourth one, never take too much debt alone. So even if you have to purchase something, home appliances or other, it should not be a tendency to take those things on loan. Then your whole purpose of financial planning will go away, because you want to earn interest and earn from your investment, not don't want to pay the interest by borrowing for everything. Never put all your investment in one asset class. As we learn about how to retire risk and how to do asset allocation and diversification, which will help us in retiring the financial risk. And never invest based on tips. So we, as we have learned during this webinar, that we should be prudent enough. We should understand and evaluate and take financial advice from a certified financial planner or our financial advisor before we actually invest or even if we get a tip, we should evaluate, but we should never jump and invest based on the tips. So that's all from my side today. I would now like to take the questions. So first question from Mr. Yogesh is, in your opinion, how do we bifurcate our monthly income into debt, equity, or asset with minimal risk? So generally, as we said, we don't bifurcate from income. What we do is we do based on our goals and objective. Means if we have 1 year, 3 to 5 year goals, getting purchasing a bike, or we are saving for our own marriage. If we are in the 25 to 30 years of age, then we put that amount into debt. If it is equity, then it should be long term, 10 years and above. So to minimize the risk, we have defined that by proper asset allocation and diversification, we can minimize the risk. So one of the question Amar Singh has asked, debt means debt investment funds are what we are talking about. So debt are basically fixed income instrument, and RD, FD, post office deposit, even a mutual fund, debt fund comes under this. So it's not only funds, but RD and FD, as I mentioned, even the post office deposit comes under that. Please explain, Sunita would like to know, please explain a bit more about satellite portfolio. Yeah, that's a very good question. So if you think of our galaxy, okay, we have planets and the satellites moving around it. So it is satellite portfolio. It may revolve around core portfolio, as I explained. However, if we have to have the goals, for example, a foreign trip goal, if it requires 8 to 10 lakh rupees, then and it is 3 to 4 years away, then it should be planned out, and not to dig from the core portfolio those money out, or breaking the, say, if you have child policy for your child education, you don't want to dig from it. The core portfolio, your retirement corpus, if you are collecting, you don't want to disturb that. That's where a satellite portfolio is comes into picture, and which, as I mentioned, has flexibility. The basic nature of satellite portfolio is flexibility. Some of the options comes new investment types, new options like gold sovereign bond fund comes now. So now it can become a part of core portfolio, or it can become a part of satellite portfolio. The instrument may still be the same, but the basic idea is satellite portfolio. You try to encase as soon as, and you want to have some flexibility in it, so that you meet your wants goal as well. Sunil would like to ask, what is MF and RE in power of multiplier? Okay, so MF stands for mutual fund and RE stands for real estate. So maybe I would have written the full terminology, but MF stand for mutual fund and RE stand for real estate. And as I explained, they have a power of multiplier. Many of years you see nothing is moving, or is moving very slowly, and you may not get consistent return out of it. But when that asset class start moving, it will jump in leaps and bounds, means it will multiply your investment. So that is the power it has. So somebody asked very good question here, Mr. Milind Mahajan. Many financial planners describe mutual funds as power of compounding. Then what's exact difference between POC and power of compounding and power of multiplier? As I explained, the power of compounding, you can calculate what you are going to get with certainty at the end of the day, and your capital remain protected. That is the first basic need. What many of the financial planner explain about mutual fund is power of multiplier, but then what they do to explain to general public as such, they say that okay, if you get a return of 12% compounded year on year. After 20 years, you will get this much if you invest, say, 10,000 regularly. So they try to calculate some figure, and which is subjected to market risk. They try to use the same formula, power of compounding. However, that does not hold good, and many people who have invested in mutual fund, and they have seen that they cannot rely on year profit or return, and it become very difficult if your child is going to get for education at the age of 21, her higher education, and you saw that you have not got that compounded effect in it, and you have to withdraw the money. That will give realization that, oh, this is not what it is giving, because it's not a linear, it does not follow any formula. So that's why I understand that they try to explain it through it, but that will give a, I will say, misunderstanding, where in pure technical terms it's not give power of compounding to you, or a compounding return, but some, as I said, it can multiply your money, it has that power. So here one question by Mr. Gangadhar is, mutual fund almost has given less than 5%, investing almost from 6 years, what are the options? So it just get connected to the same, like we say generally, old is gold. That means investment avenue. Okay, if somebody has invested in 2013, 14 or 15 in FDs, okay, that time the FD were giving 9 to 10% return, and if you have blocked that time for 10 years, that would have given you in 10 years almost 9 to 10% return. And that's where power of compounding and power of multiplier is separate out, that you still have to differentiate and do proper asset allocation, and not to just select particular instrument based on the return expectation, or based on the lucrative return shown on the screen. Mr. Sanjeev Katyal asking, suppose your monthly income is rupees 50,000 per month. In this case, how much retirement corpus is needed? So this require a very long answer, but I will try to just give a short answer to this question, is that your retirement corpus does not get decided based on your income. It basically decide based on your monthly expenses requirement and the inflation year on year. If you want to maintain the same lifestyle after you retire, you have to calculate how much expenses you are doing for having a particular lifestyle today, and based on inflation, how much expenses are the money required per month after the retirement to maintain the same lifestyle. So it's irrespective of income, it is more of function of your monthly needs as well as lifestyle and inflation. So there is one question from Mr. Rupesh. Can you explain financial budget with any example of salaried person? So yeah, I can surely do that. In the interest of time, I think if you can contact me on my number or on my email, I will able to detail it out and help you explaining the in detail the financial budget with example, and we can be more specific and detailed one. So we have another 2 minutes. I will try to take a couple of more questions. uh, so it is more like a short-term goal or a need-based goal. Not exactly understood for what it is asked, but there can be goals which are less than a year or about a year, then 1 to 3 years, which we call short-term, and 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, those are in mid-terms, and then about 10 years long-term goals. And we plan accordingly differently for each type of goals. It's called time horizon of your goals. So the last question is, suppose your monthly expenses are rupees 75,000 per month. In that case, how much retirement corpus is required? So if its monthly expenses is 75,000, and if inflation is 6 to 7%, then we can calculate the future value of it, and from there we will able to, we have to also see the number of years in this calculation to get the exact number required for retirement. So I think Sanjeev, if you contact me offline, I will able to help you in that one in great detail. So with this one, thank you everybody, and it was nice there. Thank you there for providing me this opportunity and presenting in front of great audience. Thank you everybody.